Welcome. Well, it is Friday afternoon. It seems like a lot of people left for happy hour, but nonetheless, those of you who are here are the lucky few.
I agree.
Indeed, indeed. So without further ado, let's get started. Rich, it's been a busy week for you.
Yes.
We have an absolutely star-studded cast this week, an insane lineup of people. Tell us about this week and how much fun it's been.
First thing I gotta.
A genuine fireside chat.
It is so lifelike. It's been great. I mean, I can't believe that there is a Super Bowl here in this town. I'm checking for the warmest places I know to see if they've frozen over. We at NFL Network starting 20 years ago, we never thought we could ever see this happen. There were also no teams in Los Angeles. The draft was a 2-day event in Radio City Music Hall every year. The Combine had no television coverage of which to speak. The schedule release was just sent out in agate type through newspapers. And so this is just the latest watershed change of the way the NFL has conducted business. This is my 21st Super Bowl, which blows me away because when we first started at Super Bowl LVIII, I would meet people saying it's their 21st Super Bowl, but boy, that is an old person. Now I'm that person. It kind of blows me away, but it's just a different change of the business, and to see it here and just feel the energy, and the city completely absorbs it rather than gets transformed by it. At least that's the way it's been all week. It's been awesome.
That's really cool. So aside from the 21 years, you also are now 10 years into the Rich Eisen show.
Yes.
I mean, that's a wild level of success, and you've had all of these different characters. It's not always just about football, it's about lifestyle. What do you think that secret formula is that really has worked for so long and so well?
Well, I mean, it really did. Again, like I said, all started with 21 Super Bowls ago, our first Super Bowl, where the halftime show was the most racked back TiVo moment in history because of the wardrobe malfunction, and how that was one of the most discussed aspects of the Super Bowl, and how the halftime show had suddenly become part and parcel of the Super Bowl. It kind of, made me realize that America's biggest sporting event to be exported and put on stage gets stopped in the middle for a concert and nobody bats an eyelash. And some of the conversations that are had about the game are about the commercials in between, and how that all coincides with pop culture. And then, when I was young growing up in Staten Island, New York, I always wanted to, when I realized I couldn't hit the curve or make a jump shot, and I knew I wanted to talk about it, there were two paths of what I wanted to do, which is either A, be a sportscaster, or B, be a late night talk show host. And I've never wanted to give up on any of that. So I decided to, through the podcast world, create my own pod at NFL Network, the first of its kind, because the NFL really didn't know what a podcast business was. And I created one where I would invite on actors, actresses, musicians, authors. If they knew football, all the better. If not, I would just talk about their filmography or great scenes, fun movies, and that was successful. And then what I wound up doing was creating specials out of that on NFL Network around tentpole events like kickoff and the draft and combine and the Super Bowl. And from that, DirecTV called me up and asked if I wanted to do that as a 3-hour show after Dan Patrick's show on Audience Network. And I almost had to give up my firstborn in order to get the window in my NFL contract to do it. Thankfully, my oldest firstborn is 15 years old today and happily still in my household. So, but doing that and creating it and doing it every day, and the different partners that I've had throughout, I've now found I think, the perfect mix of partners, audio strategies, digital strategies, streaming strategies, live strategy, the on-demand strategy, both viewing and audio, online. I mean, my show is 3 hours a day, and we distribute it in so many different manners. And now we added last year a Reels component and Shorts component for YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. And, you know, we have conversations after the show every day about what's reel worthy and how we can put it out there for different consumption, 90 seconds at a time, or short videos at a time, or full interviews at a time, Twitter or whatever it's called now, and Facebook and Instagram and Snap, and YouTube obviously is the monster platform for that. The Roku channel is our live streaming partner, as well as a video on demand partner. Westwood One is our terrestrial radio partner, Sirius XM our satellite partner, Odyssey our streaming audio partner, Cumulus through Westwood One is distributing our podcast every day. We're now creating more pods through Cumulus, my own podcast network, and just diversifying and getting it out there. And we finally, I think over the last couple of years, have hit it. And so that's my long-winded story about that.
I love that. Completely off topic, but
Yeah.
relevant. Are you having more fun doing what you're doing now than you've ever had in your career?
Oh, yeah. I mean, good Lord. Today, the second hour of my show, we had Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski, and you were there.
I was there. I saw this. This was amazing. I have the video.
And then Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura were after them. And Gronk and Edelman were late. Segura and Kreischer were early. So we flipped them. And Bert came out with a full fifth of vodka because that's what they're selling, and started pouring it for everybody and passing the bottle around. And I actually, you know, consumed alcohol on camera, which is rare for me, not gonna lie. And then Gronk and Edelman came, and Bert and Tom didn't want to leave, which is what you want out of guests. So we stationed them where my two on-air cohorts normally sit, stationed them there, and Gronk and Edelman there, and the conversation that they had went fully off the rails. And but that's what I love, you know, is having football players and comedians who are from the same sort of cut of their jib, just talking it up, and I'm the one in the middle doing my best to facilitate it or shut up at the right time, and you know, and then of course we cut it up into different manners in which to distribute it. So I'm having a blast. Where Kenny Chesney came on after them. Before that was Sebastian Maniscalco and Sean Payton. So that's the idea of what I want to have, is have a mixture, pop culture, sports all together in a way that fans will feel like they're kind of a fly on the wall. And then obviously the radio component allows me to open up a phone line and fans actually converse. That's the thing with, if you will, traditional media that we can't crack about reaching fans, is because fans are just on the other side of a television glass or watching it on their phones or whatever. This actually connects us. We talk, which I love that part of it too. So I am having a blast with the NFL Network now in year 21 for my Super Bowl, and that. I'm a busy guy. Certainly now that I run my business too, which is something that happened out of the blue when the merger between AT&T and Time Warner took a turn, and Max had yet to have any fast channels or live streaming capability. Now it does, but at the time it didn't. So they shuttered everything from the Audience Network, Dan's show, my show. And then handed me my radio affiliates and all the IP. And I had to figure it out. Jerry Silbowitz from UTA right there is my Sherpa. And together we have basically been running the business and building it out and trying to figure out what to do, where to go, and who are the right partners. And like I said, just sticking with it. You know, when you were told 2 days before Christmas that you're going to be canceled at the end of February, and in between something called COVID-19 hits, it'll throw a little bit of a wrench in things. But I certainly, I got into this business with a communications degree from Michigan, and a Bachelor of Science in Journalism from Northwestern, which means I am a degree shy of being Dr. Television. And so I didn't go for business or anything like that, and I just go on gut and feel about what business deals to strike and what partners to reach out to, or have partners reach out to us and have a conversation about integration, execution, and how we can best do all that. But most importantly, about running a business with folks who are getting a paycheck from my production company, which is just wild that I say such a thing. But I figure it out. It's a lot of work. As soon as we're done with the show, I'm usually on about an hour or two of meetings every day, trying to balance being a dad of 3 and a husband now of 20 years, 21 years. It's a lot, but I am having a blast.
You make it
transition. I'm not going to lie. I thought I would be at ESPN the rest of my life. SportsCenter changed from when I first got there in '96 to when I left in 2003. It's thanks to, I'm dating myself, thanks to advents of things like the internet and mobile phones. It went from a show where we assumed the consumer of SportsCenter had either seen what had happened once and not yet again, or hadn't seen it at all. Like literally came in dark about the result of a game. Didn't know, had no idea who went 3 for 4 or how many points somebody scored. And we were the ones telling them in an entertaining, infotainment type of way. Went from that to assuming by the end, not only did everybody know the result, they'd probably seen it multiple times, cut up in highlight form. And so now they were tuning in to find out why something happened, which turned me as an anchor into sort of a debate moderator between two arguing analysts. And I freaking hated it. I just did not want to be that at all. So I kind of asked to do other things. That didn't work out. And so 10 days before my wedding, I was done with ESPN.
Wow.
Yeah. And there were some empty seats at an ESPN management table at my wedding. Went on my honeymoon, driving, on the A1 in Italy. My then new wife answers the phone for me. My phone goes off and she hands it to me, which is wild because she's always concerned about driving with my, with a phone in my ear. Certainly when there's some Italian going 150 kilometers up your bumper, and she hands it to me. It was Dick Vitale calling to say how upset he was that I was leaving. And I thought it was pretty cool that I was speaking to Vitale in Italy. But it was just a head spinning experience. And NFL Network had already, been knocking on my door a little bit, and so was Turner Sports to be doing stuff for them. And the idea of starting something new with the NFL Network, the NBA had just had its television network launched. The NFL was being done in Los Angeles, and I kind of dig that idea of starting something new. They also were talking my language about having a celebrity element to it, making sure that there was a Los Angeles feel to the show, and I jumped at the chance. And man, things have changed, but including my hairline. But here I am today, 21 Super Bowls in.
When you made that jump, obviously it's the NFL, so you feel like a sense of comfort, but you're going from the titan in the industry. Do you feel like it was a real trailblazing moment? Do you feel like you were taking a risk?
I was taking what I thought was the best opportunity for the future, for my new life and starting a life in Southern California. Being from New York City, I always was fascinated by Southern California. I also thought it was a smart play. There was some angst to it, say the first February I was there, we started in November, and then a few months later, because my wife was a reporter at the time for NBA TV, and we went to the All-Star game in LA, and I was for +1 at an event. Some guy came up to me and goes, "Man, I watch you every day," which was great. I immediately crowdsourced it because we were on DirecTV and a couple other cable outlets, about 12 million homes, which I went from about 110 million on SportsCenter at the time down to 12. And so I'm like, wow, how do you see NFL Network? He goes, what's NFL Network? And I'm like, that's what I'm on. He goes, you're not on SportsCenter anymore? I'm like, not for like 8 months. And he looks at me and he goes, are you all right? I'm like, I can fog up a member for you right now if you'd like, But, so those interactions made me start to, question what did I do. But also we were just at that February coming off of our first Super Bowl where everything worked so well. And the NFL was so supportive. We were on in every hotel, we were on every bus, we were on everywhere in the convention center, and so it felt like we were fully distributed. It gave us a glimpse of what it would look like when we were fully distributed, which took about 10 years to be honest. So it was fraught with a little bit, but I definitely feel like I made the right move.
Yeah, I think we'd all agree with that. So we're in a room of brand marketers. I'd be remiss not to ask this. Tell me about some of your favorite branded integrations. I mean, today I came in and you had Bounty sitting on your desk.
Well, that was because Gronk and Edelman brought it.
Yeah, they're wearing their green jackets.
Bounty, like Letterman jackets, yeah. But no, our presenting sponsor was Into a TurboTax. BMW and Subway also bought in for segments. We've got last year our partner was Subway as well. Subway, and so we're expanding our brand awareness. Roku has been phenomenal. They are 100% in the game, growing their business on the Roku channel, and it's kind of interesting because the philosophy that Roku has is very similar to the philosophy the NFL had with starting NFL Network, which is they are partners with everybody, but creating their own network that is competitors with everybody that they're partners with. And the Roku channel is doing exactly that right now. And things have gotten to the point where on Roku, where now 80 million devices are out there, they have found that the first 3 apps that get opened up is YouTube, Netflix, and then the Roku channel, which obviously thrills me. And the amount of integration that they are constantly putting on my show, and my show is built for it. I mean, I could have half dozen to 10 integrations a day in a 3-hour show. And we're building up, and we're getting to that point. And we notice our viewership goes up. And obviously, there's many different places for a partner to place their marker with us digitally and socially, and streaming. And also, like I said, we have a partnership with Game Time tickets for our podcasts that we're growing our podcast world as well. So all of them have just been superb. What am I leaving out? Unilever, Discover Card for our pods as well, right? So O'Reilly Auto Parts. So we just keep on growing and keep adding them. And I've also had some partners that also utilize me as a personal spokesman, if you want to say. I mean, Marriott. I had a court rep on Marriott relationship that at one point was longer than my actual marriage. And I said I'm 20 years in counting on my actual marriage. So yeah, I'm exposed to brands through the NFL quite a bit as well.
Very nice. Well, no interview of you would be complete without talking about Run Rich Run.
Thanks.
And your 40-yard dash and what that means to you, because there's a great significance to it. Talk us through the impetus of that and where it is now.
All right, like everything in television, it was born out of complete boredom, it was at the 2005 NFL Scouting Combine in the RCA Dome, waiting to shoot that night's episode of our show Total Access. And I'm sitting with our guest analyst for the week, Terrell Davis, and I'm just staring down at the field at the 40-yard dash line, and I don't know what caused me to think this or say it out loud. I asked TD how fast he thought I could run 40. He did that and he laughed. I cursed at him and then went down in my suit and my lace-up dress shoes and ran it. Had no idea that the crew that was on a break somebody hit record in the truck, somebody was recording it on the field, and they surprised me with the video that night on live TV. Next day, a bunch of coaches came in. At the time, Mike Homer of the Seahawks and Joe Gibbs of Washington, or the two that saw it, said they couldn't believe what they saw, and of course they rolled it in for them and they laughed about that as well. And so on and so forth. That happened the first year. Year two, I walked back into the RCA Dome, Mike Holmgren's there, and he asked me if I was gonna run again. I said, I haven't even thought about it. He goes, you gotta beat your time, Rich. And I'm like, you know what, he's right. So I did it again, and then I did it again. And then the advent of what's called simulcam, where they could take my run and have actual runs from the combine overlaid over my run, gave it a complete new breath of fresh air because it wound up becoming like a YouTube sensation and a slapstick comedy element of it where I'm barely out of my start and RG3 is off the screen, you know? Or they give me a 5-yard head start and some 350-pound lineman catches up to me and runs straight through me, and it's really funny. And I just kept doing it, and about 8 years ago, somebody in the NFL Network suggested to me, why not add a charitable component to it? And if I was up for doing it, we should choose from a list of NFL supported charities. And again, my 15, 12, and 10 at the time were babies. And so I chose St. Jude Children's Research Hospital because that is, you know, a place where families who are broken get basically put back together with their children getting well. And so we kept doing it and doing it. Now we run it every year in the Rose Bowl in April, which is great for me because it allows me to not run it at the combine in February because, as you might imagine, coming on the heels of the Super Bowl, it's not exactly the best time to eat right and train, which I don't do anyway, screw it. But we now do it in April, and we've raised close to $6 million over the life of it. So, and the crazy thing is me running my 40-yard dash in my suit. Oh, by the way, that's the other thing too, is because I ran it in my suit the first time, I kept doing it in my suit. That turned out to be the logo of my show.
That's amazing.
The Running Man logo of my show.
And so what is your personal best time, and when did you do that?
5.94 about 6 years ago.
Okay.
But
Are you on the decline now, or are you?
I mean, I like to think I'm a fine wine, but yeah, it's awesome, you know, and it just gets to the point where, you know, I felt like it started where I'm just like every, you know, guy or gal who wants to run, like I kind of represent them, and now that I'm in my mid-50s, I could be, you know, somebody who is inspiration for somebody to maybe get faster in their older age. But that does require me to buckle down and actually train.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you gonna keep it going another 10 years?
I don't know. This is my 20th run, and I'm thinking of mic dropping, but you know, it's a whole different world now that there's a charitable element to it. So.
Gotcha. We're getting the proverbial playoff music, but before we do that, can I have the audience do 1 or 2 questions?
No problem.
I'm being told no, but
We're being told no.
Well, if you got, I've got time for it.
Let's do.
Rich, I got one question for you.
Yeah, what do you got?
Speaking of podcasts,
Yes.
so do you listen to podcasts? If so, what are you drawn to? What do you like about the podcasts you do listen to?
Oh man, I listen to be honest with you, what I listen to is like other sports talk radio on the way in, sometimes on the way out. Other podcasts that I listen to, I do love the Kelsey's podcast. I think they're awesome. And it's just a fun listen to them. And I honestly just also stay away from it a little bit because I just want to, when I'm starting my own, I don't want to come across as derivative of anything. We're just going to create our own new ones. So we created one this fall called Overreaction Monday, based on our most popular segment on our show, which is coming up with, my colleague Chris Brockman comes up with some of the most outrageous opinions based on that weekend's events of the NFL, kind of in a way having our fun with a lot of these shows that have these approaches. Some of my colleagues in the sports business, I just shake my head after a game where there's a major comeback, and instead of saying, hey, that was an incredible moment by this team, they twist it and say that team sucks because they had to come back. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing that I don't grasp. So we have these overreactions, and I react to whether it's an overreaction or proper or not. My wife does a podcast with Amy Trask, the longtime executive of the Raiders, called What the Football, WTF. We might actually add a drinking component for that this coming fall, because it's better to listen to them when they're having a glass of red wine, despite the fact they tape it at 1 in the afternoon. But so that's just, I don't want to. I want to just keep coming up with stuff that I think our audience would like to listen to, and run it from that.
Rich, I texted my friend at Roku and said that you're singing.
Oh, good. I appreciate you saying that, because I mean it. They've been awesome, and the number of times that I hear from people who watch the show or watch my show, they used to refer to NFL Network. Now it's overwhelmingly about the show that I just did today. So I'm glad that you told them that, since I drank at 10 in the morning.
I love Roku.
Great, me too.
I'm told they're going to pull a hook on us if we don't get off the stage. But
Any questions, feel free to take them outside.
Yeah, we'll do it outside. I just want to thank you, Rich. I know you did
bet.
5 shows this week, and you are the busiest man here, but you came and took the time to speak to all of us. Thank you
Okay.
so much. We'd like to give Eisen